Almost 2 years ago, the Sony A7 III was released on the market, and it was a camera that not only improved over the previous version, the A7 II, but it was one that actually revolutionized the camera industry. Not only the A7 III had features other cameras could barely compete with, but it was also released at a low price point that other companies could not even match. 2 years later, even though Sony has an advantage in the mirrorless market, the game has changed. Companies like Canon with their new release 1DX Mark III at a much higher price point but with better video options like RAW recording or 4K 10-bit at 60 frames per second. And even companies like Nikon with their Z6 and Z7, cameras that were released about the same time as the Sony A7 III, capturing amazing photos and video with better codecs like ProRes RAW through an autonomous recorder, as they are already catching up to Sony, if not surpassing in some aspect their technology at this point in time. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what are the minimum specs that in my personal opinion, the new Sony A7 IV must have in order to compete with other companies like Canon, Nikon and Fuji, and some of their new features that are currently here in the market as of right now. Some of the improvements are going to be subjective to some people because everyone has different needs and different tastes. But in my opinion, even though they're not going to be groundbreaking, because for example cameras like Nikon already has some of them, Sony must improve if they want to once again wow people on the industry, as they already did with their autofocus system. Alright guys, to start, I'm gonna say that the first thing that Sony A7 IV must improve is their IBIS or stabilization system. Over the years, Sony has been offering in their alpha cameras a not so good performance for stabilization, especially for video. I did a video before that you can check it out right here comparing the Nikon Z6 and the Sony A7 III. And the results, as I expected, were not so good for the Sony A7 III. It was clear to me and to other people that saw the video that the Nikon Z6 had a better stabilization by far than the Sony A7 III, and that Sony could not even keep up when it was put to the challenge. Number 2 on the list that Sony A7 IV must have is gonna be the touchscreen functionality, something that you can basically see in almost every new camera that is released on the market nowadays. Up to this day, I still can't understand how come Sony, being one of the major cell phone companies in the world, they still haven't implemented a touchscreen function in their alpha camera system. Comparing Sony A7 III versus Nikon Z6 touchscreen, you can see that Nikon is mile ahead on this department, and that in my opinion is something that it shouldn't be happening. Number 3 on the list, and this is the one that bothers me the most, is gonna be the buffer capacity and the speed that these cameras can write to a memory card. You would think that by getting their top of the line, the Sony A9 II, which has a dual faster SD card, will have a better performance, just because it's a more expensive camera. But you can tell by looking at this comparison that is not the case. Pay attention to how long it takes to write the files on the memory card when you compare it to a Nikon camera. The issue wasn't addressed on the Sony A9 II, but hopefully it can be addressed on the Sony A7 IV. Number 4, and this is something that I think for sure they will improve on the A7 IV, as they already did on the A9 II and the A7R IV, and that's gonna be a camera with better ergonomics and a better grip. I've been using the Sony A9 II for a while, and I can tell you that the grip is a welcome improvement. It offers a more balanced body, especially when you're using heavier lenses. Me personally, I would prefer that they don't increase the camera size any bigger than this, because to me that's a perfect size that offers a more stable and balanced camera, especially for the mirrorless system. And finally, at number 5, the Sony A7 IV must improve once and for all the video features. Every camera that you see out there, for example the Nikon Z6 can shoot ProRes RAW. The new Canon 1DX Mark III can shoot a 4K 60 frames per second and even 5.5K RAW. The Panasonic S1 can shoot a 4K 10-bit internally, and even the Fuji X-T3 can shoot at 4K 60 frames per second, while on the other hand the Sony keeps lagging on their video features. If you think of something else that Sony should improve on their new Sony A7 IV, please comment down below, because who knows if Sony might be listening. Anyways guys, that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe for more camera, tech and drone reviews, and I'll see you on the next one.